Perfect. So I will call to order the June 2025 Global Board of Directors meeting. First, we will take attendance. As I call your name, please indicate if you are here, and also acknowledging that Steve has already given his apologies. He can't make this meeting. So I will start from the bottom and head to the top. Diego? Is Diego here? Sorry.
Here.
Oh, there we go. Avi?
Here.
Ashwini?
Here.
Sam?
Here.
Harold?
Here.
And Ricardo, myself, is here. Great. And thank you all for attending this meeting. Special welcome to all our guests. Thank you also for coming to the meeting. I will now read the conflict of interest and antitrust statement. As the board consists of individuals from competing organizations, OWASP and its board shall abide by all applicable antitrust and competition laws. To avoid any perceived or actual conflict of interest or antitrust concerns under U.S. federal, state, or regulations, only the published agenda shall be discussed or voted upon or amended as below. If there are any conflicts of interest, board members are expected to disclose the conflict of interest and must recuse themselves from discussion and voting. So I'll take a moment right here and see if there are any conflicts of interest. Okay, let's move right on. I believe
Recording in progress.
Sorry, what was that? Okay. All right. Any changes to the agenda? I think there is one change. Evie, you wanted to discuss marketing?
Yes, although since the agenda was only published today, I think we need to vote on all of that.
The entire agenda?
That was what I thought we had discussed.
Okay, that's fine. Let's do a vote on the entire agenda, including the discussion on marketing as well. I will go in the same order. Diego? Are you still there, Diego?
Here. I just say yes. Ricardo, can you hear me?
I could not hear. Avi?
Yes.
Ashwini?
Yes.
Sam?
Yes.
Harold? Is Harold still here?
Yes.
Oh, okay. There we go. I promise you my sound is at like 95% here. There we go. And myself is a yes. So that passes.
So Ricardo, we record it as a motion to include Avi's discussion in the agenda?
Well, this just says must be voted upon, right? Affirmative 2/3 vote. So it's just a vote.
Yeah.
And it passes. So
yeah.
All right. Now we'll go to the approval of last month's meeting minutes. Hopefully everyone has read them. Going in the same order. And if you could, please speak up clearly. Diego?
Ricardo,
Yes.
I don't think you can vote on them.
The
Andrew?
previous minutes?
I thought Andrew, if you can respond to this, I thought they had to be up a week before based on Robert's rules, and they only were done yesterday. Sent to
Oh,
us.
apologies.
Andrew, can you
No, it's the
clarify that?
changes, Don, because the minutes just need to be read by the board, right?
Right, but
Yes.
the board is supposed to have them a week prior to the meeting. They were only posted last night or this morning because you sent them yesterday.
Okay.
But
I write.
Andrew can
Yeah,
clarify that if I'm
yeah, I
wrong.
only got recording late as well, but yeah, I'm pretty sure we had that before. Let me check with the bylaws.
Okay.
In the meantime, I'd like to make 2 points. In general, yes, we should try to get the minutes published right after the meeting and not right before the next one. But
Right.
specifically, I do have an issue with the May minutes. There's a reference there to an online vote, to an e-vote.
Sorry, Avi, could you clarify the previous May minutes or today's ones?
Sorry, the May minutes, the previous meeting
minutes.
minutes of May has a reference there to an e-vote regarding Vienna. And yeah, if you go there, you'll see there is previous, the e-vote, and the voting record is not public.
Okay.
But the results were recorded.
Yeah,
The
but I,
results are in the
They
minutes.
need to be published. Is
yeah,
the
I
point.
still need all the individuals who voted what to post the vote.
Right. That said, that doesn't preclude us from accepting the minutes as they stand,
Yeah.
because it's unanimous anyway.
Yeah, so the form is owned by Andrew. So again, I have no access to the list of people who voted. Actually, there was one person who didn't vote.
So when I go to May meeting minutes, it says not found.
The links in today's minutes, did you try that link or are you accessing it some other way?
You might need to refresh it.
Yeah, May 2025 minutes are there, actually.
Yeah.
Look, as far as the e-vote, it passes clearly.
Mhm.
We just need the votes properly registered, but that shouldn't stop us from voting on the minutes. My opinion.
I concur with that. I mean, let me ask you this. Is there anyone who hasn't read the previous minutes? Or thinks that they need more time to review them?
I think I need more time, so I'll probably I mean, if you're voting for the approval of the meeting minutes, I will just stay out of it.
Okay, so you choose to abstain. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Is everyone else okay voting on the previous month's minutes?
Yes, Ricardo.
Okay. Well,
I
let's
have
go.
a question before you do that. If the
Sure.
meetings that you're voting are not correct because it doesn't have the listing of what it's supposed to have, how can you vote on them?
You can vote on anything if you choose to say no in your vote because the meeting minutes are incorrect. That's of course you're right. And you can also speak up like right now, which I'm giving everyone the opportunity to say like, no, we're not ready and they should be corrected first.
Okay, I just thought you had to have them corrected before you can vote, but okay.
So I would say it's
I hear
not
from no.
incorrect. We're just missing the voting history, but we have the recorded
We
results.
have the
Okay,
The results
all right.
down.
I just want to make sure. Yeah, okay,
The motion passes, and that's what we're voting to accept into the minutes.
okay, all right. Thank you.
no worries.
Thank you.
Okay. Is everyone okay now? Yeah. All right. We're gonna vote right now. Okay, Diego,
Yes.
Avi,
Yes.
Ashwini, you have to say what you want to do here.
I managed to read through the specific point that I was looking at, and I think it's a yes.
Is that a firm yes or
Yes, it's a yes. Yeah.
okay? Sam,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
you lead us in suspense. I love it. And myself is a yes. Great. The minutes pass. Andrew, are you in a position to start the board summary?
I am. And
All right. I will hand it over then to you, sir. I'm going to stop sharing.
Okay, share screen, screen 2. Okay. This one here, if everyone can see slides.
Yes.
Okay, a very, very busy month, held back by the last week, obviously, of Barcelona and everyone being a bit exhausted after that. I actually came down with plain flu and was knocked out for about 2 weeks. So, although I worked a bit pretty much every day, there were days there that I just didn't get much done. So, there were some delays, and particularly the updates to the EU constitution that Avi and I have discussed is the main casualty that's not ready. We need to, my list of to-dos is there, and I'm getting through them. The website redesign is well underway. If people are interested, I do actually have the Figma wireframes that you can have a look at. Depending on how busy we are, we might come back to this later in the agenda so that you can actually have a look at the wireframes. The goal for this week is to go through each of them and approve so they can start building it for real. It's currently in Figma. So for those who don't know, Figma is a prototyping tool. It's not the actual website. It makes it look like it really will look. Make sure the navigation works the way you expect. Let me see if I can actually bring it up. Slack. Website. I've got quite a bit of an agenda to get through here, so just hang in there. In a period where finance are going through their thing, I'll find the Figma stuff and show it to you after that. The new EU entity. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry, I heard a chat. The new EU entity has been initiated. That happened the week after AppSec Barcelona. We are still awaiting Belgian government approval for IVZW status. So we don't currently have an entity. We have applied for the entity, and there should be very little reason why it would not be approved at this stage. We have acquired a mailing address. The accountants and bank accounts are next. We can only do that once our IVZW status has been approved. You cannot open a bank account without that. Updates to the Constitution are being prepared. I met with Avi and Steve, and basically we went through the protections that we're looking for. We're going to be doing something called a nominating committee and a few other changes to make sure that we basically have an entity that is more or less a shell. And the idea is they're not setting strategy. They're there to do the VAT function and do grants and things like that at our direction. Okay, so what that needs to happen is some changes to the Constitution, which I will share around. I need to make sure Aram and Maxime and the other board members, such as Shashwini and Diego, are on board because we need to hold a general meeting to vote that in. We've got a bit of a session on that.
Right? Sorry
Yeah.
to interrupt you. Just to be specific, you mean changes to the EU board constitution, right?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, the entity constitution. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Once we've agreed on what that looks like in English, it needs to be translated back in French and approved by the board. Then that's provided back to the Belgian government, and we should be right. After that, I will go into further detail about how we get the money from the old ING account into the new account. I'll talk about that in the session we've got coming up. This is just a broad strokes overview of where we're at. We have recruited for, or not recruited, we are recruiting for 2 positions. To stop things falling through the cracks, Heather Kennedy has graciously decided to be our acting director of corporate support. As always, I do encourage internal applications for the roles as they come up. The idea is to make sure that our customer experience is not diminished by not having anyone in the role. So, although it's not ideal, we basically need to push forward with finalizing these recruitments. We've already had a pretty good discussion with a strong candidate, but because the role is such an important one to OWASP, I do want to go and open it up. Avi.
Are these roles actively published on the website, LinkedIn, etc.?
I am waiting for Deal to activate a portion of the employer part of their website that does knockout questions and resume analysis. Once that's activated, which I would imagine is going to be this week, I will publish it on LinkedIn. The application process will go through Deal. Deal will then do the knockout questions for us and then do sentiment analysis on the resumes that we receive. It should eliminate probably most of the garbage applications, and then we can actually look at the actual role itself. The last time we did it without a knockout question, we received 640 applications, and when you're looking through and making a decision within 10 to 15 seconds on a candidate as to whether or not they can progress to being interviewed, I don't think that's fair on anyone. So we need a better process. That said, we actually have had some personal referrals, and I do like personal referrals. So if anyone's got anyone in mind for both roles, do forward them to me. I've actually already started to interview a couple of ladies for the marketing role, and I think we have 2 strong candidates. And if I had a 3rd strong candidate, I think honestly, that is a good enough pool for us to actually make a good decision. So yeah. 25th anniversary has started to be planned. I've met with a few of the staff to go through what it looks like. In particular, we are reaching out to RMK for the 25th anniversary all-day event to get a quote for that. That's actually underway right now. I have a meeting I have a meeting next Monday to replace the water cooler for the overall staff to be able to be involved. We have a session in this meeting where the board can put in their ideas and what they want to see out of the 25th anniversary. I want to do something every single month. And I really want to say, let's experiment with doing things that we don't normally do, just simply to provide some value to our community, and really try to reflect on all the things that have made us successful, and double down on things that, like, for example, our Global AppSex in Vienna and in San Francisco. We really want to make sure that those events go off with a bang. We really want to ensure that our 25th anniversary, being a virtual event that's free to attend, has the most number of attendees of any virtual event we've ever run. And for that, we need good marketing. And so, yeah, we're working at the moment on a 25th anniversary logo with Hugo. So we'll share that around once we've got some things to choose from. The 2024 audit field work is commencing. This will take a lot of time. I'm already late on some of my deliverables because of the illness. I need to get back with Leah and Chris to make sure that all of the questions that have been asked in the interviews are scheduled. So during July, this will take up a lot of my time. We still need to get the things that they're asking for 2024. That fieldwork has basically commenced. We want to have that fieldwork finished and finalized by no later than Chris. What is the end of the fieldwork schedule looking like?
Fieldwork, they've started their pre-prep work. Fieldwork is scheduled to begin on July 7th.
Right.
And yeah, we hope to have everything wrapped probably, I mean, there's gonna be quite a bit of back and forth, assuming that we can get everything to them timely.
Mhm.
You know, we would hope to have an audit draft by the end of September and have the audit 990 wrapped by the end of October, hopefully.
Which
Which
would be really good.
is way ahead of last year.
Yeah. Also, that means our 990 will be submitted on time, I would assume.
Yeah, I mean, our 990, it's due November 15th.
Yeah. Okay. So Harold, you and I are going to be having lots and lots of discussions about the audit, and we've got a meeting in a couple of days' time. One of the things that I needed to get done, unfortunately, through a scheduling mishap, I didn't get the bank account signing stuff done with Harold last Saturday, his Friday. I went to bed, there was no meeting, and unfortunately, I was still in bed when the meeting went off. So I'm going to reorganize that meeting to get Harold on the signing authority. So for Chris and Leah, I now see the money market account in the main account that I use for citizens. I no longer need to use my personal login. So I'm hopeful that I might be able to get you access to the money market account statements in Citizens. So yay.
Yeah, that would
We
be
are,
wonderful. Thank
yeah,
you.
no problems. We're reviewing to see whether we can afford to go hybrid with AppSec USA. We want to basically, one of the things that is played up big in Australian news sources is that every time someone is deported from the United States, and it happens a few times a week, it makes major news. The reality is hundreds of thousands of people fly to America every week and they don't get deported. But the impression that you get from watching the news is that you've got a fairly good chance of being deported. I don't know what that chance actually is. My friend Paul, his sales team, 30 of them went to the United States. 2 of them were rejected at the border, one for social media reasons, one for unknown reasons. So that suggests like a 1 in 15 rejection rate. I don't think it's that high, but people think about this, and I think we've probably got this perception issue that getting through the border is actually really hard, and I'm not going to come. We need to, I think, provide those folks an opportunity to do a hybrid AppSec USA. So market the in-person version to the North American market and market the hybrid externally. This might actually help us with low ticket sales and things like that. I don't think this is an appropriate choice for speakers, and we can't really do it for trainers. So we will be basically looking into this and seeing whether or not we can afford it. Lauren and I talked about this yesterday. We hope to have an update for you. And if we can afford to do it, and it's something that we can afford as a ticket price, I will get back to you by the July board meeting. Harold will probably know more before then, because it's going to be in excess of my signing authority. Review of all our platforms.
One second, Andrew. Sorry, I have my hand up. Could I ask a quick question here?
Yes.
What marketing efforts have gone into this event? Have you ramped that up, or?
We do LinkedIn advertising, and there is a lot of social media push for these events. The reality is that it's the same sort of marketing that we've always done for events. And so I'm looking forward to having a marketing person on board that maybe can help revamp the way that we actually come and market this stuff. Thanks, Avi.
That was in relation to the marketing that we've always done.
Yeah. So there is some marketing. I've asked the marketing to really concentrate in on the North American, Mexico, North America, Canada market, because I think that's the most likely people to attend. But internationally, we will still push it. It's just that focused LinkedIn adverts, we probably won't do too many of those until we figured out what the deal is with hybrid.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
We're reviewing all of our platforms. I asked Christian and I gave him a vendor list. So Harold, I think you've actually asked the staff to do the same thing. So I'm not sure where that's at, but at the end of the day, basically the goal here is as you go through life, you pick up platforms, subscriptions, and seats, and it is reasonably difficult to cancel them and get them cancelled in a timely fashion. So you end up, stragglers. For example, we went to Sessionize, but we still have Submittable. So Submittable is the multi-year contract. So we're sitting and not using Submittable when we're actually using Sessionize. So our goal is to make sure that we're aware of all of those exit dates and make sure that we're getting out of platforms we're no longer using. The reality is that we do have a number of things like that. We have like 3 DNS providers, whereas it should always be Cloudflare. There's a bunch of stuff where we have a few droplets that do things for us. Do we need to have them all? Those sorts of things. So I'm hopeful that within the next month, I will have a complete list of all of our platforms, services, and seats, and we can optimize our use of IT technologies. There are some that, I use, like Grammarly, that we have one additional seat that we're not currently using, but was just been renewed for 3 seats. So I will find another staff member to use Grammarly because, as far as I'm concerned, spelling mistakes in our promotional materials, spelling mistakes and grammar mistakes in our externally facing stuff, like we're redoing our website, is completely unacceptable. So having Grammarly makes a lot of sense. It's not that we don't want to use Grammarly, but it's a matter of how many seats will we actually eventually need. So yeah, we have 3 seats. We're currently using 2 seats. That's the sort of thing that maybe we could actually save a little bit of money by getting the right number of seats. GlueUp and Stripe integration. This is causing heartache across multiple teams. It's causing massive problems for the accounting people. Basically, we've got lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of uncategorized income. And it is really difficult to be able to determine out of GlueUp which event has actually given us money. So it's not that the money hasn't come in, the money has come in, but from which event? Is it membership? Is it event? Is it training? We just don't know. So it could be the way that GlueUp is presenting it to us. It could be the way that the integration is set up with Stripe. It could be the way that Stripe and GlueUp are working together. So Harold is rather graciously, because he helped set up Stripe, he's helping out Dawn to figure out if there's anything that we can change or whether or not it's a GlueUp change. If this continues, I'm going to be basically putting my foot down and saying to GlueUp, we can't do this, and we'll go back to Eventbrite. We can categorize funds from Eventbrite pretty easily. It does mean that we'll have multiple platforms for the same thing, which is not what we just talked about. But we can't have a situation where, Chris, how much uncategorized income do we have at the moment?
We have about $295,000 as of the end of May. 187 of that is funds that came in May from GlueUp. And I will say, I'm not sure, Harold, if you'd like to reach out to Lee and I, we'd be happy to help with this any way that we can. My understanding was that it was just the categories that were set up in GlueUp. If they basically, Stripe and GlueUp should align with the accounting categories that we want to track them by. And if you want to track them by different categories, you should let us know. But we have the revenue type to Andrew's point,
Yeah.
being membership, training, whatever it is, and then also by the event site. So we basically are with every CRM, including Stripe and all of the various ones we work with, should be able to go in and download that by month and then just upload it into QuickBooks and have that data. So if you have any questions regarding the categorization, I'm not familiar with GlueUp themselves, but I would assume that they have a team that has to deal with this often. And if we can just get the categories to align, then it should work.
Well, that's what I thought when I sent them an email last week or whatever. I think Lee as well. They actually wrote back to me and they said their reports are not always accurate. So we're at a little of a stand. Yeah, it didn't go well. So we got other stuff, and I'm meeting with Harold this afternoon or tomorrow. Then I'll know by then which way we have to go, and I'll let everyone know.
Yeah, well, let us know if there's any information we can provide on our side. We're happy to help out any way that we can with that.
Great.
And yeah, to everybody's, the good news is we're receiving funds and we're receiving them regularly and we're receiving them timely. We just don't know exactly what they're for. So
Yeah. So one of the things that we were hoping to do with this 2025 year was to have accurate P&Ls for the larger events, including some AppSec days, and this is holding that back. Obviously, the majority of the funds received in May is for AppSec Barcelona, but we also have funds for other events, and they're intermingled. Star, you had your hand up.
I think I'm good now. Thank you.
Okay. We did have a problem with chapter and membership tickets being delayed after Barcelona through exceptional help from Dawn, and I really do thank Dawn for going above and beyond, helping out Hayden. So thank you, Dawn. We are back to normal with chapter and membership tickets. We've got the normal number. Unfortunately, it'll never be 0, but it is a small number as of today. Hayden is here if the board wants to inquire as to what the plan is for the future, but the reality is our next potential interruption to service, if you like, is Hayden is taking annual leave after July 4th for 2 weeks. I will be working with various folks to make sure that we have coverage. During that time, it's probably just going to have to be necessary to say to chapter leaders that chapters may be on hold for a couple of weeks while we get that done, but membership tickets will be processed. I will get that coverage in place before Hayden goes on leave, because otherwise we'll end up with the same situation again. But I don't envisage Hayden taking more leave for a little while after that. So this is just a temporary problem, and we need to be able to handle staff on leave.
I have a question, Andrew. You previously stated that you'll be spending most of July getting the audit prepared.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like you can take on this additional task in that same month?
I'm thinking that we may need to, one of the things that Hayden has done is documented all the procedures. We might need to get someone from Upwork on a temporary basis just to process the tickets. I think honestly, the mechanical tickets like password resets and things like that always have the same solutions, things that I think a person external to our organization can process. And then it's just simply a number of the more difficult tickets. So Star knows how to do the membership tickets. I know how to do the membership tickets. I think honestly, we've got membership under control. It's the chapter tickets that are going to be the problem. I think, again, full documentation and then determining what tickets are coming in, maybe getting people to apply to get all of the chapter ticket situations sorted out before Hayden goes on leave on July 4th. I don't know. But this is obviously an issue. And Sam, thank you for providing the oversight. We just need to make sure that we are getting through our tickets on a timely basis. Advice on the new commercial entity. This is an outstanding item from a previous board meeting, and I have asked a number of questions of our lawyer, including what sort of structures have you seen other nonprofits do, and has it been successful for them? All the way through to how do we allocate shares and make sure that we have effective control of the organization. That engagement letter has not arrived as yet. As soon as it has arrived, I will let the chair and the vice chair know. I'm expecting that advice to be within 1 to 2 weeks of the engagement letter being accepted. There might be a meeting just simply to clarify some of my questions, because as much as I brain dumped all of the things the board has talked about into a single email, they may have some questions of their own just to clarify what they're really trying to provide us advice on. So that is an item that is in the agenda for today, but that is probably the update that I would give during that section. So it depends whether or not we want to have a discussion about that commercial entity in separate. But I would hope that by the July board meeting, you'll have in your hands the legal advice you have sought. Okay. Dawn, you got 2 points, and then I just want to finally talk about July 4th and our break. So I just want to make sure that people are aware that the office will be closed. So Dawn?
Okay, so all the invites for the nominees for the WASP awards have gone out. I've got finally started to get several back this week. I'll check by tomorrow. The goal is I was aiming for the week after July 4th, but it's probably going to be the following week that it's going to go out. And it goes out for about 2 weeks, the election. So that should be no problem. Like we said, we're doing all the stuff for the audit. And the only other thing with the report, just for us to Leah, Chris, for the board, my credit card got hacked last month, corporate card. They sent me a new card. It was hacked before I even got to me. And apparently it shows that someone actually has a physical card in Delaware. But how do I code all the fraud? We're going to get it all back, but how do I code it for you, Leah? I don't know how to do that. I just put in fraud. I don't know what category it's supposed to go under.
Yeah, so it should zero out. So we can actually create a new category for it if you want to just track it separately that way. But it basically should have a net zero by the end of this month. So yeah, we'll just Leah.
There's thousands of dollars.
Yeah, I don't want to, like, typically if we're getting a refund of $50 and we have an in and out of $50, I would tell you to use miscellaneous expense. For this, I think we should just open up a separate category so that we can identify that moving forward. So
Okay.
we'll open up a new account, and like I said, hopefully by the end of June, it should net to zero if we get all the credits back from the credit card company.
Okay. Thank you. So Andrew, that's it for me.
Okay. Yeah, so we do the 4-day work week, and that July 4th also falls on the Friday, so there should be very little operational things happening there. But in the following week, we've got Dawn, Christian, and Kelly off, or it's not Kelly, Dawn, Christian, and Hayden off for the next week, and then Hayden continues to be off for another week. So that's the summer holidays, basically. So again, coverage will be the interesting thing. I would suggest, and apologies for the later arrival of the slides, for the rest of the slides to be read offline if you've got any queries. Chris, I have a couple of requests. The board obviously missed out on our opportunity to hear from Leah in the May board meeting. Would it be possible to do a April management summary for the highlights and then the May management summary, just the highlights in this session?
Sure, I can do my best. I have up what I have up. Luckily, we do our reports this month versus last month, so we can see them both. But yeah, I wasn't quite prepared for that.
Yeah. Also, in general, I think the level of detail that we're being presented is possibly a little bit too much for the board. So maybe just highlight in future months, not this month, but in future months, the highs and the lows and anything that's unusual. And maybe I'll invite you to the finance meetings, and maybe we get Harold and myself fully read into the management report, and then if there's anything that we think that needs to be presented to the entire board, we can then provide it in the main session in your own words.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, please include us in the finance committee meetings. Are you ready here? And I'll just try to touch on April as well as May.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I just sent you a request to share my screen.
Yeah.
I will start by saying my first points were, one, that the audit fieldwork is getting ready to begin on July 7th. So we have a few outstanding items that we're waiting on, and then we should be in good shape. Hopefully we've requested those be complete by the end of this week so that we can do one final review, lock the books, and turn everything over to the auditors. They have started preliminary fieldwork last week. And my note was to discuss Glue Up with y'all because it is causing a bit of an issue from a financial standpoint. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. And we'll just jump into the statement of financial position. Just so you know, we do have uncategorized income because of Glue Up. We don't know exactly how to categorize it. I also wanted to point out that we received $208,000, an additional $208,000 deposit in early June. It's not reflected in these numbers because we do not have the support, and it was received in June, not May, but it is going to be for June revenue that received through Glue Up. I'm certain of that when we receive the detail of it. So just keep that in mind. But just as an overview, this is May and this is April. Cash decreased by $278,000 in May compared to April. And that was largely due to a tremendous amount of accounts payable paid out. You'll see that on the liability side. Accounts receivable was relatively flat, and total assets decreased by $422,000. And here's the driver for our cash decrease is our accounts payable at the end of April were $345,000, all due to the EU conference y'all were at. And at the end of May, total accounts payable is just under $27,000. So that's the main driver for the difference in cash. Our total net assets at the end of May were $80,000 less than they were at the end of April. There's a question. Okay. On the statement of activities, we'll go over this on the budget closer, but total income was $500,000 during the month of May compared to $485,000 in the month of April. And you can see that we do have the uncategorized income from April and May that totals $295,000 year to date. And again, 187 of that is from Glue Up. And we have received an additional $208,000 in revenue in cash during the month of June that I strongly believe we'll find out was training and attendance at the conference last week. Total expenses over in the month of May were $578,000 compared to $497,000 in the month of April, and that is largely due to the venue expenses during May. And in May, we recognized a net loss of $79,000. Let me jump to the budget summary here really quick, and I'm trying to make this as quick as possible for y'all, and I know we're about running out of time. But from an income side, just want to point out that we're running under in corporate supporters for the year and under in individual supporters for the year.
That's
It
the
look-
line item that we're waiting on clarification for. It
Okay.
wasn't budgeted for that much.
Okay. Got
I
it.
also, Chris, talked to Andrew about it yesterday, so we started looking into it.
Okay. Very good. All in all, though, we're showing a strong year. I will just show you, and again, these are not complete numbers as we're waiting for glue up, but right now, and I'm sure we have some additional expenses coming in as well, but we have been tracking these by location right now for APSEC in May 2025. We're showing a total income of $766,000. That number is definitely going to go up when we get the glue up report finalized, and total expenses of $575,000.
Mm.
So we are tracking revenue and expenses, to Andrew's point, by location, by event, by project. And it's really important that we get that accurate information from glue up then to be able to provide an accurate P&L. All in all,
Sorry.
no, all in all, I think, we're exceeding revenue expectations for the year. And this year's looking very similar to last year, which was a very positive year. So,
Yeah.
Just one
so-
thing, sorry,
go.
Andrew. Chris, you're gonna
Yes.
start to see all the trainer bills coming in too, so they'll be more expensive. And we're starting to pay those, just an FYI.
yeah, absolutely. I'm certain there's additional expenses coming in as well, but right now we're
Okay.
showing a gain for the May event, and I think once it's always something, once we get glue up figured out, we'll be in a good place to actually see the P&L
Yeah, okay,
by
thank you.
event. Any questions?
Yeah, I have two, Chris, if I may.
Yes.
Question one is about the uncategorized data. Is there anything that can be done to improve the situation to help you categorize these items correctly?
Yeah, so there is some outstanding, we have some uncategorized expenses and some uncategorized income outside of the glue up issue. We send that list usually twice a month to the OWASP team, and yeah, the sooner that we can get that coding and information, that, and when I say it's information that we don't receive either receipts for, that we see come through the bank feed, whether it's funds in or funds out. So we send a list twice a month of any funds in or out that we don't have any support for. There's a couple of things for 2024 that is.
That's all, just so you didn't know, I already sent, that's already been sent to Leah. She
Yeah.
sent me a report today, so I'm recopying it from the other one. So there's nothing from 24. That's all.
Oh, perfect.
We have
Yeah,
everything.
we're going through the bank feed
Yes,
now.
there was a lot I sent her while she was away, but this, I got everything from Andrew, so there's nothing left. There are two things that Andrew has to research, and one is like, I want to say 18,000. two incomes. It says it's coming from OWASP.org. It has to be done with the Chase. I don't have access. So those I can't give an answer for. There's like 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah.
So that'll
Yeah,
come
the
out to
tr-
about 20 grand.
Yeah, the tremendous amount of uncategorized is coming from the glue up, but anytime we can affect that, get that list taken care of timely helps us. We always record expenses and we know when money goes out, so it's just a matter of correcting the recording and putting it to the correct expense account when we receive the documentation. The main kind of not risk, but overstatement that can happen is with funds that we receive uncategorized income. Because if we have a check, to Dawn's point, we have those 2 that, and you guys have a lot of them because we get international payments that are very hard to track, that don't have a lot of information associated with them, and they're ACH payments. We record that as funds in as revenue and it's uncategorized, but there is always the opportunity that it's payment for something that's already on accounts receivable. And therefore we're double counting it until we find that out, because it should be applied to our accounts receivable so I know that Leah and Dawn are constantly working on that. We've made a lot of improvement over the last few months, but needed to definitely push for that as well, because it is a challenge for your organization.
Great, thanks. And my second question is probably, even though it's financial, probably to Andrew. I can see that we are under budget in both membership income and the corporate supporter income. Well, corporate, maybe I understand the reasons, but for membership, I thought we signed up quite a lot of members at the Barcelona conference. I was actually expecting the increase, not a drop in the membership
Yeah.
income.
I can speak to that. If they paid at Barcelona, it's probably in those glue up funds.
Yes. Sam.
Okay, so it's
It's in it.
uncategorized, so it's coming. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
Okay. So my main concern is once we get the marketing person on board, we will do marketing pushes for both membership types. We knew that the previous system overestimated the number of members. GlueUp is providing us more and more accurate numbers of people who've actually paid us. We've also eliminated a lot of the complimentary memberships, so you'll see this peak, number of 8,600. Well, 1,600 of those were fraudulent, and so they should never have been counted. So as time goes on, by November, we'll actually have a very accurate picture of our actual individual membership. And it's just a shame that we came off a base where there was just so much fraudulent membership types through the force majeure, which is now much better managed through GlueUp.
Yeah, Andrew, but
So
the force majeure memberships are all complimentary, they're free. I'm talking about the income, right? So paid memberships. So why
that's
we're not
again,
seeing
once it's been categorized, and that's actually an area that we definitely need to improve upon, then that will be more accurate again. So the reality is that I have very little qualms around the numbers of active members that we have in GlueUp. And once it's been correctly categorized, which is a bit of a challenge right now, the amount of money that we're receiving from it. What I'd like to see is an increase in the number of individual members. I've got a standing board resolution that allows me to do a couple of membership drives a year. Once we get the marketing person on board, we'll have to figure out about how we do that in the best way possible. But I also want to go ahead and do a corporate membership drive as well.
Okay, thank you.
No problems.
Lee and I do have a 12 o'clock call. Is there any other questions about the financial reports?
No, thank you. And Leah, I do apologize for the bad audio that we had at the May meeting. Thank you for struggling through yeah. Well, I think when we come to doing DC, we might get a pre-record as well as you being available, and that way we can if it doesn't work out, like I tried for 45 minutes to get that audio to work, and it just didn't. So apologies, and thank you for trying.
No
No
worries.
problem.
If anything comes up, please let us know. And yeah, we'll be moving forward on the audit and this glue up situation, hopefully, and have buttoned up financials next month. Thank you all.
Okay,
Yep.
thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Right. Okay. I do actually have the Figma up, or shall we get on with business?
Let's get on with business and save that for the other section.
Mhm.
Right. Let's see here. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, that we already discussed an update on the 25th anniversary celebration. Is there a desire for the other board members to continue this conversation at this point, or shall we move to the next item?
We've got the staff meeting next Monday. What I'd like to do is, if there's a call to action that I'd like to have in this meeting, I would like for the board to, if there's any events you'd like to see, if there's any people you'd like to have speak, if there's anybody that you'd like to, like one of the things that I'm going to be doing is going to be reaching out to the Computer History Museum and seeing if they can actually do a panel with our OGs and make that into an event, for example. These are the sorts of ideas. I don't have them all. I'd love for you to provide those ideas to us so we can start slotting them into the themes of every month. So put your thinking caps on and start thinking on the 25th anniversary of OWASP, what would you like to see? What do you think our community would like to see and participate in? Do we need to discuss it to the nth degree right now? Probably not. But at the end of the day, we are in early stages of planning, and I'd like to nut out the first quarter of next year completely by pretty much the end of July so that we can start promoting those events.
Yeah. Do you think it might be feasible or desirable to get a working group going on for this so that we can start to plan and
Yep.
sure.
There's already a channel. Let me stand up a working group.
Okay.
Do I have a volunteer for the working group? I'm obviously going to be on it, but anyone from the board wants to participate.
I'll join.
Okay, thank you, Sam. And I'll put a general call out to the community. We're also going to be using this as an opportunity to generate content for our new website as case studies and things like that. So videos and stuff. So it's not just going to be in person. It's also going to be making sure that we actually do have things that our community can do asynchronously throughout the year. And our new website is going to be a great part of that.
Great. Okay. I think I might have missed one here. The committee reports. There is a chapter and committee charter discussion.
I don't see anybody from the chapter committee, so we might need to come back to that. Let me put a note to get the chapter committee to come to the July board meeting.
Okay, that's great.
We could also do some work in that time. Was the board had feedback for the chapter committee on the charter? Who provided that feedback? Maybe they could work with the chapter committee to bring something that could actually be voted upon in the July board meeting this time.
I think that was Avi on the charter, right? Avi, I think you had some questions on the charter.
Chapter committee, I don't
Yeah.
remember anything
What
specific.
Kyle was saying.
Could you
Yeah,
could you circulate a link to the document maybe, and we can see what state it's in?
Yeah, I'm happy to work with them on that, but I don't remember anything specific that I had. Just that it wasn't ready or fit.
Okay. So Avi, what I'm going to do, I'm going to get you and the chapter committee together. Maybe we can have a meeting and just discuss what are deltas, and maybe they could actually go away, fix up the issues, and then hopefully we could have something that we could actually vote on in the July board meeting, because this has been going on for a while.
Yep.
Mm.
Fantastic.
Okay. All right. Also, I believe you already gave an update for the there was another point I saw in here.
You might need to refresh your thing. The marketing committee was a new thing that was accepted into the pull requests.
Oh, okay. I'm doing that now. All right. No, not what I was thinking about. I should have wrote it down. Okay. Sorry.
I'm going to share my screen so that the agenda comes up.
Okay, thank you.
I think the next one is the discussion extending OWASP Foundation board member terms.
It is, and this is one for extending the terms of board members from 2 to 4 years, okay? Starting with the 2026 elections, so the anniversary year elections. And the sponsor is Diego. All right. I'm actually interested to hear your thoughts on this, Diego.
Sorry, guys, I was on mute. My idea is basically to extend the time for the border, because what I perceive is basically to have a longer term to provide more strategic advantage for us to help the organization, to improve the leadership, to continuity, and have a deeper engagement, because 2 years is not enough. We basically starting working something and then we need to run for elections for another term. And the proposition is to amend the OWASP bylaws to extend the standard term for the election for 2 years to 4 years, and have the election cycle for 2 years also, not every year.
Oh, okay.
I will point out that we have an election coming up, and any changes to the election bylaws needs to be in place no later than August. So if you're going to do this and you want to have the community provide their feedback, it pretty much needs to be done between now and the July board meeting.
Okay.
I think that's Dawn.
Yeah, I see a
Yes,
hand.
Dawn.
Yeah, I don't think you can get it done for this election because you have to get the bylaws changed, and that has to go through the state of Delaware, I believe. So, and it has to be submitted to them. So I don't think you're going to be able to, I'm not saying don't move forward, but I don't think you'll get it done for this election. Because it's a change of bylaws.
Okay, that's a good point.
Now, if you decide to move forward, you can always amend the people who got elected, like their agreements maybe. That Andrew has to see if that can be done. But it won't get done in time for the August 15th announcement.
Okay.
Avi?
Before we start stressing about how to operationalize this and how to make it work, is there even consensus for this on the board? I'm curious. Because personally, I see a lot of challenges to this, and I would not be in support of this. I think 4 years is a lot to commit to all at once.
Yeah.
And I think having that break after 2 years, if a director is not effective after 2 years or doesn't want to commit to all 4 years, I think 2 years, but still 2 years with 2 terms consecutive can make sense.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you, Avi. I will also point on this is that we're governed by the community, right? So obviously the re-elections will come from the community, and it will be up to community to decide whether a board member should be re-elected or not.
What happens with respect to strategy, right? We have a number of actions, and obviously they're not going to get fulfilled, or we're not going to achieve them in the next 2 years either, right? So there's a new board and they come back, and then change these or go back on these items. So there's a lot of to and fro. So I see the point where Diego is coming from when he says that to achieve our strategic objectives and goals, it's important to, increase the term period of the board members. So I see where he's coming from. But yeah, I'm keen to hear on what the challenges could be, so that maybe we can understand if there's a workaround, or if it's really a blocker, then it'll be easier to vote on what it should be like, right? I see the plus point of having it, but yeah, I want to really hear on what is the challenging aspect outside of the travel and the commitment that we want to do for it.
Harold?
In general, I would say that, we did bring this up at our last meeting, but one of the things I'd like to do is agree with Diego about the reason for wanting to extend the board members' terms, but I think maybe 4 years is too long. I think I agree with Avi with that, is that it's kind of how many people are you going to get? Like, if we took a show of hands here, if your term was 4 years, would you still have tried to be on the board? I don't know if that would be a majority of us, but I'd look at maybe 3 years, but definitely not 4.
Could I provide a context as an ex-board member? I personally think 4 years with a second term is going to be too long. I was burnt out after 4 years, and I was done. I was fully cooked. Yes, I could then choose not to restand for another 4 years, but I think one of the things that's part about a healthy board is actually the turnover in the board, providing our community with fresh new faces and fresh new ideas every little bit. And realistically, if you haven't got your agenda done in 4 years, and maybe it's someone else's turn to get their agenda through, you need to sort of work with your board members on things that are strategically important to you and get them through. I think 4 years is enough time to get that done. I managed to get through quite a bit of reform in my time on the board. Not initially, because I didn't know how to work with the board when I first joined. But once I learned that I needed to have friends and I needed to get people to agree with the proposals that I was making changes for, and getting that consensus before we even went and sat down for a vote, I think I was pretty effective towards the end of my term, but I was also very burnt out. And so honestly, this is your decision, but I do think that for the health of the community and the health of the people involved in the board, this is probably not a great change. But I'll leave it to you. I just wanted to provide you the perspective of someone who had been on the board and served the full term.
All right. Sounds like some great comments. I kind of support it in a way where I see Diego's point, and I do take all the other directors' points as well. And maybe there may be some middle ground somewhere, because I think that, well, for the sticking point for me is the every year there are elections. I wouldn't mind if that was moved to every 2 years for elections. And that's kind of my 2 cents on this topic. So yeah. All right. Anyone have any other comments or suggestions on this? Is this something that we want to explore more, or are we set with this topic and we're moving on to the next?
I think here we need to understand more about justification. Diego, maybe if you can kind of provide that proposal to the board and see what we can do. And also it will require some investigation in terms of how do we even allowed to do it based on the Delaware rule for nonprofits. And as Star was mentioning, as if there's any flexibility in terms of the term limits. I think with response to your and Ashwini's question about strategy, right? Because mainly as a board,
Yeah.
we should really be, once we have the strategy, and also we are building up on the strategy which was defined by the previous board, right? So we're kind of continuing that. I don't think we kind of vetoed anything which was prepared by the previous board so far. And I think mainly it's all about us moving the foundation forward by all the motions that they produce, all the voting, because a lot of implementation actually happens by the OWASP staff. And as Andrew mentioned, their rotation is actually quite healthy because every year we get fresh board members, which bring in diversity of thought and fresh ideas. And so far, I think it's been quite successful. And again, obviously, knowing very closely a previous board member, Sharif, who is my OWASP London chapter co-leader, he was also burnt out after 4 years, so it's actually quite happy to pass it on.
Okay.
The main thing from the staff is we don't like the strategy changing very much, and so every time that the strategy changes year to year to year to year, that is actually very disruptive. We've just put in place the programs that support the strategy of the previous board, and then it changes. That's actually more disruptive than the changes you're proposing to the term limits. If anything, some sort of policy or conventions around changing the strategy, like it should be that we're building a strategy but on the shoulders of the giants who started it before us rather than starting from scratch every year.
Right. Read with that. Okay. So Diego, Ari, I see. Avi, go ahead.
I just want to address the thing with the strategy. Absolutely, that's not something that should be completely torn out and changed. But the fact that we have a cutover and usually approximately half the board carry on from year to year each time, there is that carryover of this is what we're working on. Is there anything that has to change? And then it's just really a question of fine tuning or reprioritizing and not rip and replace.
Okay, thank you. Diego, Sam mentioned you might have something written, or you're going to provide something written.
Yeah, I have it. I'm gonna share with you guys through the email after the meeting.
I'm sorry, when?
After the meeting, I'm gonna share through the email for you guys.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
All right. Anyone else wants to comment and or ask any more questions on this topic? Okay. Let's move on to the next one then, which is a marketing discussion. This is great. So the market committee should be established to provide strategic direction, oversight, and management of marketing initiatives, ensuring OWASP brand, mission, and goals are effectively communicated to the community, stakeholders, and the public. OWASP is also hiring, and hopefully that person will come on board, very soon. And I think Andrew, I'm with a few other board members here. We would like to see that posted as soon as possible. And if you could share it around as well, Evie had a great point, then we can increase that marketing or advertising of that position through our social media and contacts and stuff. So that's another great thing I think we can do here as well. And this was actually one that Avi wanted to discuss. Avi, do you want to discuss it in particular, or was it just an open session?
First of all, I'll say we basically need to do marketing to hire the marketing manager.
Yes.
Around that. But I was confused for a moment, but I see that this topic actually appears twice. I added it at the bottom with a slightly different focus, and I see Sam added this one. Sam, I assume you added that one in. My point is, yes, all those things are correct. And we've been saying for a couple of years, we keep seeing that so many of our initiatives are hampered by lack of marketing. Or for years, I was saying we don't even do bad marketing. Now I would say we do not great marketing. But growing the events, the training, the membership, right? Sponsorship, corporate support, all these things, all the things that we want to be doing are stuck by not having good and effective marketing. Now, yes, we need the marketing committee or communications committee or working group, however we go about that. We need the manager. But in the meantime, that might take a while. In the meantime, we do need to be investing, and we need to see that we need to see budget being spent towards marketing, whether it's hiring a marketing agency. And I know that I remember which one it was that was doing this for a while. But again, just putting together mediocre social media posts, that's not enough marketing. That's not what we're talking about. We need to be spending much bigger on this. And it's not about how much we spend, it's where and how we spend that. So yes, I would like to hear about this. And again, we've been talking about this for a while now, so I'd like to hear what we actually are doing about that.
Yeah. Star has her hand up. But was that question for, sorry, Star, one sec. Was that question for Andrew or just in general, Avi?
In general, and especially for Andrew and staff in general.
Okay, sorry, go ahead, Star.
Oh, it's okay. I was just really springboarding off something that Avi mentioned with regards to marketing budget and spending appropriate budget for digital marketing specifically. I had an opportunity to work with a brand director and just kind of run basic Van Noppen figures by her, and she laughed at me. So what we're doing to do targeted marketing when that topic comes up later in this month for global in the US, you might want to reconsider the amount that you're allocating towards the budget, because we definitely, if you think it's going to work, you need to put more money towards it. Otherwise, you're literally just burning it because it's not reaching the audience that it should. And it should be at approximately 4 times what we were spending at least, which you may not want to spend. I'm just saying what it is.
I don't know who told you the 4. I'm sure they're an expert, so they know more than I do, but I don't think 4 times is enough. And
that was me being conservative to get to minimum reach, frankly, and it's not enough. It really isn't. And the thing is if you're going to make an impact with digital marketing, you really have to hit it consistently with varied messages and to the right places at the right time. And those 4 factors, pick a platform. Maybe it's just LinkedIn. Maybe it's just Mastodon. Whatever the answer is, pick the answer and invest big to actually begin to gauge return. Because right now we're just throwing money into a void, basically.
And I will amplify that, Star. We need to hit them consistently for a minimum of 6 to 9 months.
For sure, for various reasons. Like for an event, I could see it being a shorter timeline, but this was also the brand director who created the Starry brand, which was a PepsiCo product. So it's somebody with actual credentials.
Specifically for events, I was told by an expert, 6 months is the bare minimum if you're going to see any results on that. So yeah, 6 to 9 months.
Yeah, I think our space is a little strange just because people have so many pieces. So it just depends. If you're talking about a net new attendee who's never heard of OWASP, I would agree with you. If you're talking about somebody from within the community, I wouldn't.
Harold?
I kind of want to say that maybe this is putting the cart before the horse. It's probably a better discussion to have once we have the digital marketing person, because right now I don't want to tie their hands. So let them come up with the plan as we move forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, they should be.
I was about to echo that exact same statement. I really want to get a new person in to develop a marketing strategy that then we don't have a calendar of events. We don't have any means of metrics to identify what is effective marketing. We need to have someone who's got those skills to come in and show us where we're missing. If we have a committee that is also composed of people who may not know some of these things that a specialist may, I think honestly we're going to hamstring them and tie them into, instead of a greenfield site that they can make their own, we are actually saying to them, here is something that we think that you should be doing, please make it work. Like, for example, we currently send people to conferences to have discussions with other developers and things, and we often send them out with a lead scanner. And in marketing terms, the number of leads you get is the metric that you actually have. There is a very strong argument to be had that having the discussions without a lead is actually the more important thing. But if that's the case, how do we determine the metric that is actually worthwhile going back to that event next year when we have no leads? And this is a discussion that a professional who's been in the business for a while will know the answer to. And maybe it's just like, yeah, it's nice to be able to have these conversations without trying to get a lead, but maybe it is the right thing to do. We just don't know. The things we don't know exceed the things we do know. And I think that's actually reflected in Avi's point that our marketing has either been non-existent or ineffective. And I don't want to hamstring the new person. Let's get the hire done and make them, and then come back to the committee perspective, because I think honestly, we need that person who doesn't know our community very well to be able to integrate with the community. And I think having a committee would be a really good thing, just as long as the committee is not that person's boss. That would be terrible. I honestly think having the committee as that person's boss would be, you may as well not have that in staff member. You may as well just have somebody like Van Noppen, who we've got at the moment, doing the work of the committee. And I think we'd have the same sort of lack of effectiveness that we have today. So yeah, there it is. Okay, I'm done.
Okay. Sam and then Evie.
Yeah, actually, I had a question for Avi because Avi stated that our current social media posts are mediocre and not enough marketing. But apart from social media, Avi, what kind of marketing you're proposing? What is not enough? And because I have my own ideas on this with regards to the outreach to other conferences, but what else other than social media do you propose we should be improving?
Well, as others have said, I would leave that to the marketing expert. But when it comes to social media, I will say this. We can leverage our social media posts a lot better, but that depends on two things, really. One, or the second one, I will say actually, is the audience. If we spend on, for example, LinkedIn advertising with a focused audience for a different set of posts, that can be leveraged very, very well, very effectively, instead of just spraying everywhere. And that's more than just posting. But yes, ongoing posting is important as well. But that comes back to the first point, and you'll understand in a second why I rearranged the order, because all of that relies on the content of those posts. So it's not just a question of what do we do besides social media, it's how do we do social media. So we need more, and listen, once in a while, I know Star sometimes writes a really cool post, and that gets a lot of traction and gets some eyeballs and amplifies. And we've had that in the past once in a while, but that's a one-off and not the majority of our postings or the marketing. It doesn't exist, and it just doesn't work that way. So we need good post, good content, and then being able to target that effectively.
Yeah, I think to summarize Avi's point, OWASP needs to be a living entity on social media, right? Digitally, not off it. So we are mostly focused on events and the content that's available, but we need to be active and more prominent. We need to live online. That's what the social media person is going to help us with. The marketing person is going to help us with. And marketing is not just about having some posts on LinkedIn or social media, right? It's beyond that. It's ensuring that you're alive and kicking online. So that's what they're going to help us achieve, is what I think.
It's what you post, what kind of engagement, and even just social media, which is the little bit that I know about it. It's how you do it. If I may, the other thing I was going to say to address Harold and Andrew's point, I completely agree about not hamstringing them, not dumping something on them that they need to deal with. That being said, we have been calling for this for at least 2 years that I remember. If we hire somebody, fantastic. If it's going to take longer than that,
Abby,
then I would say
froze for a little bit.
Say,
mind just repeating your last sentence or two?
Yeah,
Your audio dropped.
I don't know. I was frozen. I don't know how far back. But to address Andrew and Harold's point regarding dumping, stuff on the marketing manager and the marketing committee that they don't want,
Mhm.
We've been calling for this for approximately 2 years. If we can get that hire and the committee ready to go in a month or two, absolutely agree. Let's wait. If it's going to take much longer than that, then we really can't wait another 6 months to get started.
I've got two very strong candidates for the marketing role at this moment, and I honestly, the main thing that I want to do is just get some postings so I can see if there's anybody who's as strong as these two. They're already in our industry. They already know the main players. I think honestly, this is. I would think that anybody else from the public would actually struggle to be as good as the two that I've got. So I think the marketing manager is probably going to be the first hire that we actually get done. And I'm expecting that to be probably by the end of July at the latest. So yeah.
Fantastic. If it's the end of July, I doubt we'd be able to vet an agency faster than that anyway.
Yeah.
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 It
So
really
if
comes
that's
down. Yeah.
but if
You
it's
need to
past
go out
DC,
then, Andrew?
Well, what I would like to do is basically give that person time to do a review of our marketing operations, such as they are, and the continuing role of Van Noppen. If Van Noppen's, or if they can do what Van Noppen is doing, I think we can save some money. If we need someone like Van Noppen, then is Van Noppen the right choice? Now that we've got a staff member, I don't know. I would like to refer that to the person rather than to come in with preconceived notions. The fact is that we're coming from such a low base. I think almost any answer is a better answer than the one we have.
Okay.
Okay. Considering there are two items on this exact same topic, are we going to skip the last one? Because there is that executive session that I'd like to go through.
yeah, there was a duplication here of adding this to the agenda.
Yeah.
This was both.
So Sam, I'll work with you to collapse this. So when we do the published minutes, we only have one of these items in the agenda.
Yeah,
in the
that was a
minutes.
duplication because there were two pull requests from myself and Avi.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So then I now see the other thing I was going to ask you about, Andrew. You did give an update on seeking legal advice about the commercial entity. Do we need to discuss anything in this area, or can we go into any other business and then the executive session?
Okay, so realistically, because this is a Steve thing, when I get the letter, I'm going to work with Steve behind the scenes. I think honestly he knows what the vision is for this, and if there is a follow-up meeting to actually discuss the engagement letter even further, I might get Steve to come in and help brief the lawyer to make sure that we get the advice that we're actually seeking. I've put down around 8 questions for the lawyers to answer. Steve might have some more. But at the end of the day, basically, we're not in a position to really move this discussion forward today unless the board has, and it's a shame Steve's not here, that maybe...
Comments or questions on this topic, or want to discuss it at this point? Because I think what Andrew is saying makes sense, but just check everyone's temperature. You can also say no if there's nothing. Okay. All right. All right. I think we should move on then. Is there any other business or comments or announcements that we need to make at this time?
I'm getting UK immigration advice. Shruti is trying to run a training session for trainers. Avi is one of the trainers who's signed up for that. We're going to have to postpone it a little bit because it was just like getting a venue at a reasonable price at the times that we were looking for were just not possible. But the same problems that we have in the in the US and the EU with, are you legally allowed to work in those countries to deliver training if you're not a citizen?
Yeah.
I'm spending £500 with an immigration lawyer to get a professional advice. It looks like the UK has got an additional option that we haven't been presented before, which is a performance right. So there might be the ability for people to apply for a performance visa and be able to do the training. And that is something that we might look into in other jurisdictions.
Okay. All right. So then I think we've gone through everything. Should we move to executive session now?
Yeah.
There's nothing else? Okay. Do you want to stop the recording?
Yeah, I can do that. Give me
All
one tick.
Do we not need to vote on?
Oh, you need to close
No.
the meeting.
Oh,
Need to
sorry.
adjourn, yes.
Sorry. Yeah. So the next general board meeting is July 22nd, 2025 at 12 p.m. US Eastern Time. It is moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Second.
Aye.
Thank
Oh,
you
who
very
seconded?
kindly, all.
I think I heard Avi second.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, I'll stop the recording.
Okay.